going on, everybody? I'm Jason with Tennessee Mountain Homestead, and today we're doing some more modifications on the tractor. As you can see, I was tearing it up last night, running through the creek, running through the barnyard, hitting up mud puddles, all kinds of stuff like that. And it just reminded me how bad I need a new seat and I need some new floorboards. So we're going to get that started today. Stay tuned. What I'm going with is a County Line black universal fold down seat. I don't know if it's going to fit, but we're going to make it fit. And then this thing here is getting donated to another tractor, which we'll show you soon. All right, we're going to go with this. We're going to leave the stock springs in place because it's just easier and I got cushion. And then over here, this here's the new seat. The stock springs center to center are 8 inches. This here is 11 inches. So we're going to use this here piece of steel. We're going to cut it up and make some nice brackets that are going to bolt to the stock springs and make it wider so we can bolt that to this. Well, I read the instructions and it turns out I don't have to fabricate anything. These here slide in and out for width, these tracks, with a Phillips head screw and a nut. So we're going to go ahead and get those 8 inches on center, bolt them to the tractor, and we'll be back in a minute. It's been about 5 hours since we spoke last, so I want to give it a little update. There was a little bit more fabrication than I anticipated. I thought it was going to be a walk in the park, but we actually test fitted the seat on the actual John Deere spring system, and I do want to reincorporate these. We have to, because the major problem I'm having with clearance on this whole tractor with the seating issue is the fuel filler neck. I'm not putting an external fuel tank on this thing. There's nowhere else for one. It's staying where it is, so we have to work around it. Anyway, we are reusing these as the spring support. Only when I put that seat on these springs and I get it where I like it, the seat is deep enough back in here that when I lean back and kind of put my weight on it, it touches the fuel cap. It kind of bounces on it, and that's just going to beat the crap out of it. It's going to end up breaking. So what I came up with is I'm going to use these stiff springs. I went to Big R's in town a few hours ago. I picked these up. I got 2 of them, 1 for each spring. They are taller, but these things over time, I believe, have bent and given away some. What I'm going to do is use one of the bolts that's going to hold the seat track to this, and I'm gonna hold the spring captive. Now it does compress down and fit in between here. So each one of these springs is pretty stout. It should give at least 100+ pounds of added resistance so that my weight isn't going to cause the seat to come down into the gas cap. And it's going to sit like this. And it's going to have a bolt captive on the top and the bottom. All right, besides that, what I did here on the seat pan, here on the floor, is I took bar stock and stitch welded it to reinforce this area. And just gave it a little bit of John Deere green to put it back so it looks nice. Now, I could just bolt the seat back on and call it good and take it for a test drive temporarily, but I want to do all this stuff in one shot. So while that paint's drying and while everything else is going on with the seat, we already have a plan for that. What I want to do is, like I said in the beginning of the video, is I want to cut off these footwells. And as you can see, I've got the tape kind of lined where I think I need to cut it. So this is going to go away, and then in its place, this is independent of the frame, obviously. Well, the frame is going to be riding right in here. We're going to come off of the frame rail and with some tubing, and we're going to make foot supports, footrests, and / tree kickers. Without further commentary, I'm going to get to cutting. Done. What are the chances of that being perfectly symmetrical? It's the next day and we're working on the new footrests. And if you look here, I'll show you what we did real quick. I took some 1/8 inch by 1.5 inch bar stock and we drilled and bolted it to the frame in 2 places. Back here by the tire. And then I took a 7/8 hole saw and drilled through it and bent a back-to-back electrical conduit. This is 3/4 inch EMT. Put it through, tack welded it. We took it over to the bench, fully welded it around front and back, put it back on because now it needs to be gusseted. And we're trying to figure out how much more of this floor pan needs to be cut out to work with it. So what I'm about to do is, I think I need to cut a little bit more of this pan off straight down here, because what I want to do is come off of this with another piece of tubing and go back up to the frame at an angle, which is going to give it a lot more rigidity, and also I'll be able to put some diamond plate in that triangle it's going to make when it goes up here. And that way it'll kind of give like a mud flap for mud coming off the front tire and getting all over the brake and the gas pedal on my feet. So hopefully that gusset will work as a dual purpose deal. Next, we put the seat pan back on here like I said, but I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to support the back. So give us a minute, we're going to pull the seat pan back off after we cut some off, some more of it here. All right, we're back over here. We took the seat pan off. I cut a section of it off here in the front so I could gusset it with this, like I said. And so far, what I came up with is I'm going to cut a V in this, or something shaped like this, so that I can fit it over top of this pipe and then weld it wherever it, fill it in. Weld it on here, make it look smooth. Up here is going to be the bar stock. And I want the pipe to weld to the face of the bar stock and have a bolt that I can unbolt all this, because none of this is permanently attached. So I want to be able to take this off if it gets damaged, or if I don't like it and I want to make a different one, whatever. So that's where we're at. We'll be back in a minute. Here we are, guys. I got this piece of pipe cut to fit. It's angle cut to fit against this plate that we just bolted to the frame. And that's going to make this removable. But I'm going to go ahead. I got it in position where I want it. I'm going to go ahead and tack weld it. That's it. I'm going to tack weld it a few more places. We're going to take this thing off and we're going to go weld it fully on the bench. I just got done welding in my first gusset to this, and as you can see, this is what we got going on. It's starting to take shape. So we're going to get this bolted back on the tractor again and do some more test fitting. Alright, it's been a couple hours and this is what I came up with. As you can see, we got some expanded metal. We went to the store and got that. That took us about an hour and a half round trip. But I gusseted these pieces of pipe here. And it's become quite the contraption. But we're going to go ahead and bolt this back on and then start the other side. It's been a few more hours, but we finally got this thing fabricated and it's in place. Check it out. So it's supported here, gusseted here. It's all bolted to the frame so we can take it off. And then we even went the extra step and I put a little tree kicker here. Now we're gonna go ahead and leave this side alone for now. And we're gonna build the other side, try to make a mirror image of it. And then we'll put the seat pans back on. And I have an idea to help kind of blend this into the seat pans. I think I'm going to weld a piece of sheet metal to the top of this and blend it up onto the fender, and maybe have a couple of 2 or 3 bolts that go and hold that on there. But we'll see. Anyways, we're going to get started on the next side, and we'll see you in a few. It's the next day. I worked late last night till about midnight on this stuff, trying to get it squared away. And check it out. I got it looking pretty clean. I think all these cuts came out pretty good. I think everything flows nice. One thing I did here is I added a piece of steel to a bolt to the body, the seat pan, to keep the fenders nice and straight. I did that on both sides. And the next thing I'm going to do is add a couple of more gussets to this side of the foot panels, because this side obviously supported plenty. This side I think needs a little bit more. I got a couple gussets to do. We're going to take these things off. We're going to get them painted. We're going to put them back on, and then we're going to reinstall the seat. And then hopefully after that, we can take it for a ride. We got the foot panels off of the tractor, and we're going to go ahead and give it the last little bit of reinforcement. Now, as you can see, what I did was, on this one, while it was on the tractor, I took some bar stock and laid it across here, welded it to each side, and then tack welded it to this expanded metal. That way it gives it a little more rigidity and a little bit of a threshold or an edge. Makes it look more complete. I also welded this gusset right here, because on the tractor this thing's hanging off the frame like this, so that way it'll give it some more rigidity. And then finally, what we're going to do is, this is the other side. This is the right side. If you're sitting on the tractor, this is the right side foot panel. These brackets here is 1/8 inch or 3/16 bar stock that bolts to the frame. And as you can see on this side, we've got plenty of strength with this sheet metal, this triangle, this pipe gusset, 2 points of attachment. But on this side, this is closer to the operator. This is where your foot's going to be. Now I did the same thing with the bar stock on this one to give it like a finished edge. But over here, this side in particular is, I mean, this thing's stiff, guys. It's stiff, but I know I'm going to be jumping on it. I know I'm going to be standing on it. I know I'm going to be bouncing on it. I know things might come into contact with it. I want it to be even stronger, as strong as it could possibly be for EMT conduit. Now, I've got some of this 3/4 inch bar stock that I had in stock and out in my other barn. What we're going to do is we're going to put it down in here as far as we can. It hits the radius of this 90 we ban it, but it comes out all the way out here. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut it off just below flush, and we're going to plug weld the crap out of it. Then what we're going to do is we're going to drill a hole near the end of it where it stops in here. We're going to drill a hole here on each side, and we're going to plug weld that in there. So that way we have even more rigidity. It's not going to add a ton of weight, but it'll be super strong. Kind of like a motorcycle peg. And then what we're going to do, once that's plug welded and this is all ground out flush, I'm going to put a fat gusset right on the back side of this. You'll see. I'll show you when we're done. But we're going to gusset the back side of this, and then that's pretty much as far as I can take this. We're going to go ahead and clean them up after that's done, and we're going to paint them, and we're going to get this thing back together. Alright, as you can see, we're in the paint booth, and we've got these parts being professionally painted by our resident painter, Stefan.
Hey.
It'll be absolutely flawless when he's done. Protective gear not required because we're professionals. There's already one he did. Looking good. Once these are dry, get it put back together. Well, it's about 8 o'clock, a little after 8 o'clock at night, and we worked all day long on several things. Obviously, the foot panels, they came out pretty great. And then we switched gears, and I went back and started putting on this new seat. As you can see, it's pretty comfortable. I'm really loving it, but it's not going to work, and I'll tell you why in a second. The main reason it's not going to work is because it's just too high up. It's my arms go down to the steering wheel at a pretty good angle, and it's just got too high of a center of gravity now. I really can't I don't feel like it just looks out of place too. What I'm gonna do is go ahead and put the old seat back on it until I can get a black one, because I just want to get a black seat anyway. But aside from the seat, it was cool. It didn't work out. We'll use it for something else, maybe a full-size tractor. Anyway, as you can see, we got the floor, the foot panels, and the tree kickers and all that stuff. We got that stuff painted and bolted on. I got the clutch and the brake pedal bolted back on. And one thing I haven't done yet is reinstall my gas pedal. Now I was going to start that next, like right away, but until I put this other seat back on it, I don't want to figure out where it needs to be by sitting on this. So that's going to be a deal for tomorrow, and we'll see you then. Alright guys, it's the next day. Like, this is the third day into this build, and I took out the old throttle cable. This is what I had from Go Power Sports. It worked great, but it's too long, and it's got a joint that I taped up before here. Anyway, we're getting away from the gas pedal, the go-kart gas pedal. It's just not going to work with this setup. So I just happen to be a self-taught bike mechanic. I've restored over 20 BMX bikes, classic vintage ones from like the 80s and 90s, mainly dyno, GT, stuff like that. So inadvertently I have totes full of bike parts, and this is what I got here. We're gonna go with the brake pedal set up like a lot of guys do. This happens to be an Odyssey hand brake, and I got this little 90-degree change in direction off of another bicycle, and this is gonna mount to a handlebar piece. I'm gonna weld to the foot pan, and I just got done measuring it to the carburetor. And on the old setup, this little ferrule right here is what hooks into the Mikuni carburetor. And I need to recreate that on the end of this. So what I got was an 18 gauge butt splice, and it happens to be the same exact diameter as that ferrule. And I'm going to put that butt splice, I'm going to slide it over right where I have it marked. That's the travel I need. And I'm going to solder it on there. Hot solder it with a hot iron. And I'm going to get that set up, and I'll show you the finished product, and hopefully it works. I got the handbrake installed, the cable back in the carburetor, and it is capable of opening that slide carburetor full throttle. If you take a look right down the throat there, maybe you'll see that. Wide open. So next, I want to mount this thing right about here, and I need to cut a piece of a bicycle handlebar, because that's what fits in this, and weld it to this foot pan. I've got a bunch of handlebars in stock. A lot of them are for very nice vintage bikes, so I'm not going to cut them up, but I found this one. I'm not sure what it went to, probably a GT or something that now has way bigger aftermarket bars on it. But I'm going to go ahead and take the hand grip off, and if you guys ever work on bikes or need to get the hand grips off, the way to do it is take some compressed air and it pops right off. Now I'm going to go ahead and hack off a piece of this, weld it to that. See you in a minute. Alright, it's been a couple more hours. I got it all tightened up. I got it welded, painted, and check out the finished product here. Now, it might be temporary, permanent. I don't know. I haven't really tried it too much yet. I know when I sit on it, my foot's in a good position and I can put it full throttle. And I don't like how this cable's hanging out here in space. But, I mean, what am I going to do? The only thing left to do is try this thing out. guys, that's going to do it for today's video. This was a lot of work, like 3 days worth. It was worth it. This thing's one step closer to being a cool mud mower. And once again, please like, comment, subscribe. My name's Jason with Tennessee Mountain Homestead, and we'll see you on the next one.